Hey, Chris. Only 53 of these guys are going to make the initial roster. Only 53.
It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening, who ends up going to other squads, who ends up on a practice squad, and whose NFL careers might be dashed after this.
And who might get traded? Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews. Locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea. Dennis Cox here with you. By the way, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Obviously, we are recording this before preseason game number 3 against Pittsburgh. We will have an episode for you all after. So we're just going to give you all our initial 53-man roster. Let us know any of the names that you expect to make the roster or not, or maybe hope makes the roster. Let us know in the comment section down below. But, Chris, this is a decision that has to be made by both Dan Morgan and Dave Canales and the coaching staff and everyone in the front office. By 4 p.m. on Tuesday next week, 4 p.m. Tuesday next week, that initial 53-man roster has to be submitted to the NFL. And there's going to be some tough decisions for this Panthers team, especially at wide receiver.
Yeah, there's a couple as I was going through position groups, and we'll go by position group here, so I won't do any spoilers. There's a lot of tough decisions here, and I would say from the conversation we had a few I guess maybe a month or two ago at this point with our initial 53 before training camp started. I've got some changes just simply based off of what we've seen from training camp and what we've seen in the preseason games we've gotten so far. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening with their roster.
I don't really have too many changes. By the way, I have the depth chart that they give us at games. So this is actually from the Panthers-Browns preseason game. I usually like to go through and highlight names of definitely guys that I feel like are going to make the team. But, I mean, let's start right at the top. Quarterback, I think it's the same two guys. It's Bryce. It's Andy Dalton.
Yep, moving on.
Yep, keep it moving. I still have 3 running backs. I still have Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, and Etienne. Those are my 3 running backs. You have 4. Okay, explain.
I have 4. I included Raheem Blackshear just mainly because I feel like he's still probably your best kick and punt returner that you have on the team. You have other guys that you're trying out at those positions that you're seeing what they can possibly do at those positions. But let's not forget, I don't have the stats in front of me, but Raheem Blackshear was one of the best in the league in returns last year. And so I think that gives you a steady hand. And then, if somebody happens to go down with an injury in your running back room, you already have a guy that's right there that's ready to go that can fill in if possible. But I have Raheem Blackshear making the roster.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I thought it was pretty telling that in the second preseason game that it was Etienne and Dowdle back there returning kicks. To me, that was pretty telling that when returning kicks, it was those 2 guys initially. I was like, and then Etienne was also the initial punt returner as well. I was like, all right, that's telling me that these guys are going to get more chance to make the roster. I mean, obviously they're going to make the roster, but I think that just to me, it's like, all right, that's their job, if that makes sense.
I feel you on that. I think that the way that I took it, and I could be 100% wrong on this, but I think the way that I took that was more so, let's see what we have out of these other guys in these real game-like situations. We know what we have out of Raheem Blackshear. Let's see what we have out of these other guys. I think there's some promise for Trevor Etienne, but at the end of the day, it feels like Raheem Blackshear is somebody you could possibly have make your roster because I don't necessarily see a downside. It doesn't necessarily give you this huge upside either, but I don't necessarily see a downside with him being on the roster.
Okay, that's fair. I think he's a practice squad candidate for sure. Tight end, I got 3 guys: Jadeveon Sanders, Mitchell Evans, Tommy Tremble. I see 3, especially with Tommy Tremble getting back into working out and actually running routes, and we'll see what he can do in terms of physicality coming up here in the next couple of weeks. But I have 3 guys right away.
I put 4, and I put a star next to the 4th person's name, mainly because of the Tommy Tremble situation that you speaking of. So I put James Mitchell. Now, again, this is the initial 53, right?
Yeah.
So there's a chance that something happens before the first game of the season or either after the first game of the season. I know that the plan is to have Tommy Tremble in the first game, but then there could always be setbacks.
Sure,
So
absolutely. So back injury, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to make sure you have somebody else there just in case? I felt like when given certain opportunities, James Mitchell has done a decent job. I don't see him as somebody that stays on the 53 the entire season. But when we're talking about the initial 53 that they're going to make, and with the uncertainty with Tommy Tremble's back injury, I put him there, and that's more so an insurance policy. I think as the season does go along, though, the three will be Tremble, Evans, and Sanders for sure.
Yeah, again, we're discussing the initial 53. This is before waiver claims and things along those lines. So again, that's the reason why we're going 53 guys that are currently in a Panther uniform. That's what we're going with. I think Mitchell's a perfect practice squad candidate, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect fit for that.
Absolutely.
All right, I actually have 7 wide receivers, Chris. I have 7 wide receivers, and I'll explain why. So I got T-Mac, Legette, Thielen, Coker, Renfro, Horn, and Moore. And here's my explanation for that. Is because we know that David Moore can both cover and return kicks. I think that kind of that's the reason why I don't have Raheem Blackshear making the initial 53.
Makes sense.
But there are more and more rumblings, Chris, of veteran wide receivers potentially getting moved. And I think on the initial 53, we see Adam Thielen. Do not be shocked if he's in a uniform for another team week 1.
Like the Vikings?
Like the Vikings. I know that apparently the Jets are looking for a veteran wide receiver. Diana Rossini, the Athletic, reported the Jets, 49ers, and Vikings. But I feel like, I remember I talked to Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer about this. I know you and I have talked about it a little bit as well. But if there is a trade candidate at wide receiver for this team, Thielen is the guy. 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, and if you feel like you can get similar production or good production from Hunter Renfro, and also you get more snaps for Jalen Coker, you go really young at the position, you don't have to worry about losing Jimmy Horn Jr. or anything like that. If you try and sneak him onto the practice squad, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why in the initial 53 we're going to see Thielen, but don't be surprised if after that he gets traded. That's why I say 7.
So we are thinking in very similar directions. We have slightly different outcomes. I think that I put 6, and the one that's left out is David Moore. And the way that I thought about it was, and I went through and I filled out the roster first without David Moore, and I saw where things needed to be added. And if I didn't have the concern about Tommy Tremble putting James Mitchell there, I would have David Moore for 7 wide receivers. So that was my trade-off. But I felt like, okay, when you're cutting for the initial 53, who can you afford to have another team pick up off of waivers, right? That person to me is David Moore. Not that he wouldn't be valuable on this team, but that person to me is him. And so,
well, here's the thing with Moore real quick is that he's a vested veteran. So he just immediately becomes eligible to sign with any of their teams. So there's no waiver claim for a guy like him. So he's just immediately a free agent.
Go ahead.
With David Moore. So that's the thing. Like they don't have to worry about him getting claimed off waivers by another team. He just instantly becomes a free agent if he's let go.
And more than likely he's going to be signed really fast anyway because of the same reports that me and you were just talking about. With other teams needing some veteran wide receivers, especially the Vikings. And I think that the Adam Thielen potential trade to the Vikings does make sense. That's his old team. He's from there. I'm sure that he would love to be back there, especially under this new regime. The only thing for me is, what's that conversation between Bryce Young and Dave Canales? Like, hey, Bryce, heading into the season, heading into week 1, right? We haven't seen everybody in every situation. You guys technically have had, 4 series together, maybe a total of,
3 and outs,
17 snaps or something like that.
Yeah.
That you've had with the starting group. Who do you feel most confident? Who are the 3 receivers you feel the most confident in going into week 1 that you need there? And to me, if you ask Bryce Young that question, you're probably thinking Adam Thielen has to be a part of it just because he's used to him for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He's seen what Teteroa McMillan has been, or what he could have been, I should say. But he's still a rookie, right? And we saw some of the mistakes in the first preseason game. So I would think that Adam Thielen is still right now the one sure guy. And then maybe you have a couple others behind him for whatever reasons, maybe Jalen Coker, maybe it is Tet McMillan with the third. But I would think for those reasons, and it's just me, I could be 100% wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against the trade and getting Adam Thielen out, right? But I'm just thinking, like, if I'm Bryce and if I'm going to Canales, week one, these are the guys that I need. I would think that Thielen would be one of those guys in that. And that's the only reason why, but I don't hate what you're saying. I do not hate it.
Yeah, I think it's a real possibility, though.
Yeah,
I think it's a real possibility. Again, he's on the final year of his contract, so there's no guarantee you're even going to have him on your roster next year. Same thing, Hunter Renfrow, David Moore. Those guys are both on 1-year contracts.
Yeah,
I think you and I are both right here. We're right here, Chris, when it comes to this is a long-term build, looking at the future, long-term. I want to get as many snaps for McMillan, Legette, Coker, Horn. I want those guys to get as many snaps as possible this upcoming season. All right, let's go to the offensive line real quick. I got 10. 10.
Oh.
10 offensive linemen.
Oh.
10.
Who's
Chris.
your 10th?
Kingston. He was on the team last year. Derrick Kingston, he was on the team last year. I think because he's an interior offensive lineman. Damian Lewis has the shoulder injury. Shannon Zavala is coming back from the patellar tendon injury. I mean, it looks like he's going to play against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see how that all hangs up. But I think just because a little bit of insurance there, and I think he's a player that if you need to let someone go to make another roster move, you don't have to really worry about him getting picked up or snatched up by another team. You can easily move him back down to your practice squad. Hence why I give 10. The 9 guys that we saw on the roster. Actually, Kingston was on the roster last season. Let's not forget that, but didn't play. But I think Kingston sticks around. So basically the same 10 guys.
Yeah, I did 9, the same 9. Kwanu, Lewis, Corbett, Hunt, Moten, Nyman, Zavala, Mays, Christensen. I thought about that with the injury situation, but I was thinking in a pinch, you could bring in Cade Mays or even Brady Christensen right there in that left guard spot. It's not ideal right now, but it's you have those guys that's already there. I've in my heart of hearts, I did want to put 10 though, just mainly because I'm gonna keep it real. I like the guys that are there for offensive line. They have worried me a little bit, especially that interior.
That's valid.
And not necessarily Robert Hunt, but that center and that left guard position has been looking a little shaky right now, and that's with Damian Lewis out.
Yeah.
So those are definitely positions, we talked about this before, that need to be addressed in the offseason. But those are right now. I have 9, but I'm not against 10. So I definitely understand why you put 10 there.
Okay. Let's go switch over to the other side of the football. Let's go to the defensive line to go ahead and start things off. Let's go and start right up front. 6 defensive linemen for me. Derrick Brown, Tershawn Wharton, A'Shawn Robinson, Bobby Brown, Shai Tuttle, Cam Jackson. I got 6.
I have 7.
Okay. All right. Who's your 7th?
Okay. So this is where I made some changes. It felt to me, I have Brown, Robinson, Brown, Wharton, Crumedy, Tuttle, Ray. Okay. Here's why. I feel like
Cam Jackson.
Didn't go Cam Jackson. I feel like he could possibly be one of those, like a practice squad guy. And here's the reason why. We haven't seen the full complement of the defensive line so far. I'm just going based off of what I've been able to see in the couple practices that I've seen in person and the 2 preseason games that we watched so far. And even with that, the first game, I kind of like the push from the defensive line. I didn't really like the push from the defensive line in the second game.
Okay.
And I'm kind of wondering at this point, for sure that you're going to get the most out of, of course, Derrick Brown, A'Shawn Robinson, Bobby Brown, Tershawn Wharton, and all that. But do you want guys who are a little bit more experienced? Yes, a part of one of the worst defenses ever last year, but have a little bit more experience, but have these other guys that are there that maybe with less snaps and more guys they can kind of lean on can maybe perform a little bit better. Now, LeBron Ray is there with a star next to his name. The reason why I put that there is technically he's listed as the defensive end within this particular system.
Yeah.
The defensive ends in this system right now would be Derrick Brown and also Ashawn Robinson, right? Tershawn is technically in the middle. Bobby Brown's technically in the middle. Shy Tuttle is technically in the middle as well. I think Cromedy, you can probably move and do different things with him. But for right now, if Cam Jackson's not ready, you can have LeBron Ray, who's already experienced in this particular system, as your other defensive end just in case. But I just put a star there. Like, I'm not confident with it. In that pick, I don't necessarily believe he'll finish the year as a Carolina Panther. And I wouldn't hate it if Cam Jackson is there. I just don't know if I saw enough from Cam Jackson to take somebody else's spot.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, 5th round pick, it's hard to let a 5th round pick that you just took go. That's how I view it. So that's the reason why I have Jackson making it. I think Cromedy is a guy that you can easily slip onto your practice squad because he really didn't play much last year and he hasn't really shown much of anything this preseason. So I think he's a guy that can easily slip onto your practice squad. And same thing with LeBron Ray. I think you can have that veteran guy that you can have on the practice squad as well. So that's how I view it. But I have 6, you have 7, a little bit different on the back end, but we definitely know who like the big 4 are, at least up front. Outside linebacker, this to me is relatively straightforward. It's DJ Wanham, it's Pat Jones, Nick Scorton, Princely Umamielen, and my 5th guy, Thomas Nkoum. Nkoum. Like, let's be honest, he's been making more plays on special teams. He actually has been getting into the backfield. And DJ Johnson actually didn't even play against the Houston Texans because of that hip injury flaring up as well. So Nkoum is taking advantage of his opportunities in my eyes, Chris. I think that's a pretty straightforward decision.
I have a star next to Nkoum's name too, just in case there's some wiggle room and they want to kind of move around some things. But also seeing that a collapsed lung is something that is very much so unpredictable. Yeah. Dave Canales said it himself. You can be back in a week. It could take a few weeks. I have, my friend John, in Greensboro, he had a collapsed lung and, it came back at a certain point. Like you have to be careful with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It can happen once, you can heal, be fine. It can come back. And now you're worried about if you're going to lose a part of your lung at a certain part and you're going to need your lungs to play football. So, I think you definitely keep the 5th. But I think that, if there could be hard decisions made. And if so, Nkoum is the last guy out, obviously. But as you said, I believe that he has made enough plays in practice and in the preseason games to show that, hey, he has a spot on this roster. He can definitely contribute on special teams. And if you need him in a pinch in an actual game, he can be and rotate in on the outside linebacker spot.
You know a crazy thing here? If DJ Johnson does get let go. If you look at the 2022 and 2023 draft classes, only 4 guys would make this roster from 2022 and 2023 draft classes. It'd be Ike Ekwonu, Cade Mays, Bryce Young, Chandler Zavala. That's it.
And Cade Mays was cut and went to another team and
was on another team and was cut and got brought back because of injuries. Like let that sink in. That just kind of goes to show it's a reflection of where this – of like how far this roster needs to go. Because go back in 2021, you still have J.C. Horn, Brady Christensen, Tommy Tremble, Chuba Hubbard. That's a pretty good group, right? Especially guys that are going into second contract. But also you go to 2020, it's just Derrick Brown.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, so we literally just listed 9 guys that are on this roster that have been drafted since 2020. Again, I'm not going to factor in 2024, but looking at the 2020 through 2023 draft classes, 9 guys from those 4 classes.
Oh, Scott Fitterer. You remember those Scott Fitterer memes with the eyes and he's in on every deal.
It's Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer. Like that's the thing.
He's in on every bust.
My God. All right. Let's go to the inside linebacker.
Okay.
All right, I got 5. I got 5 on the inside or the off-ball linebackers. Roseboom. I got Roseboom, Wallace, Churlish, John Radigan, and Barnes. Chris Barnes is the veteran that they signed. So I got 5.
Barnes was the one I had out on this. So other than that, I had the 4. This one was tough for me as well because I'm looking at the interior defensive line and potentially outside linebacker. And then also we'll talk about this cornerback. That's where you're going to make the tough decisions on where, you're going to get the extra person or not. So, but I ended up going with 4 in this case with the idea that more than likely there are going to be some changes to this position group during the season.
All right, let's go to corner. All right, off ball, we have our corner. We should have I have 5 guys. J.C. Horn, I've got Mike Jack, Shaw Smith-Wade, Corey Thornton, and the 5th guy, I think it's probably going to be Shamar Bartholomew, I think, but I could see it. If they feel like it's a Caleb Evans or Mike Reed, I feel like those guys might be able to slip onto your practice squad. But, again, I actually think that the 5th corner, when we actually get to week 1, is not on this roster right now. But I think, again, initial 53 when we get to Tuesday next week, those are the 5 guys I see.
I'm with you. And on my list, I have a star next to Shamar Bartholomew's name because of that. It's either that he's going to make the initial 53, may not be there week 1 or week 2, or star next to the name, people who maybe like things can change. Maybe he's not there and they go with 4 initially, end up having 5 inside linebackers, and then somebody else gets cut at some point when they end up adding the 5th cornerback. But I do think you need to have 5 when you start playing games. And so right now, with what's on the roster right now, those are the best 5 for sure.
Okay. And then wrap it up, safety. I got 4 guys, pretty straightforward. 4. Trayvon Merrick, Nick Scott, Lathan Ransom, Damani Richardson. Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
So, all right, yeah. And then the specialists, I got Jansen, Martin, obviously, snapper, punter. And then probably Fitzgerald is my guess is going to take the kicker spot. Let's go with the rookie, I guess.
Yeah, I went with Fitzgerald as well. I like the fact, I think we are still here. We are very much so in harmony for the most part. We have slightly few differences, but for like the main guys, we have pretty much the same idea for most of these things. We just have, different ways of landing to like what position groups do you need to add some extra beef to based off of injuries or, what may end up happening this season. But it'll be interesting. I think this preseason has already shown me that there's still some depth issues for the most part. I think that you have gotten better with your depth, of course, in wide receiver room. You've gotten better with your depth on the defensive line, but still think about it like this. If Derrick Brown goes down with another injury, or if Bobby Brown goes down with an injury, all of a sudden that defensive line doesn't look as good, right? If Trevin Wallace goes down with an injury, all of a sudden that inside linebacker room doesn't look as good. If Mike Jackson goes down with an injury, that cornerback room does not look as good. So there's still a lot of work to be done with everything, but ultimately, I just hope that the team, looks a little bit better. I will say this. I'm not worried about all the scuffles that have happened. And I feel like we've heard about a little bit more of that this year. I like that, actually.
I don't mind it at all.
It doesn't feel like these are scuffles like these guys don't like each other. It feels like this is more like, I'm tired of losing, bro. Yeah. And I'm going to like defend myself, my side of the ball, and my turf. Hearing that Icky and J.C. Horn getting in the shoving match, like, first off, Horn, why would you want to do that? Icky is a huge man. But also, it just feels like 2 guys who have something to prove. And if I could pick 2 guys to have a shoving match with each other, those are the guys. Those are the guys. There's something to prove right there for both men. One got paid. One is looking to keep his roster spot and end up getting paid. So, and both have to prove that they're worth what they got paid or what they're trying to get paid. So, I think the outlook of the team is good. Still don't think that this is a double-digit win team at all. I'm landing in 7, 8, 9 range, maybe more so 7, 8, just based off of what I've seen from the preseason. Yeah. But there's definitely room for improvement, but there will be some improvement this year. I'm definitely hopeful of that.
Again, we talk about the holes of the roster. No one from their 2018 class on the roster anymore. No one from their 2019 class on the roster anymore.
See, as we get further away from those years, though, that starts making sense because, like, the average NFL career is what, 3.5 years? So, like, you know.
But I mean, there are guys that are still in the NFL. I mean, let's be like,
that's
DJ
real.
Moore, but that also shows you, like, Brian Burns. I mean, another Will Greer in there. You know, Greg Little, his second-round pick. I mean, these are guys that you would anticipate making a second contract with your team. You know, 2020, it's literally just Derrick Brown. That's not that long ago. Ettore Gross-Matos is still in the NFL. Jeremy Chin still in the NFL, but not on this team anymore. 2021, you still got 4 guys. But, I mean, here's the thing as well. Like, as I mentioned, you only have 2 guys from your 2022 class. You only have 2 guys from your 2023 class likely to make this team. That just goes to show you how far this roster needs to go.
But it's also a good thing because, like, if we look at it, like,
this
clearly
team's not good, Chris.
well, no. I'm saying it's a good thing in the fact that, like, you know, we said before, I feel like last draft was a good draft. I still have, and I also still have hope for man. Now I'm having a brain fart. What's my man who got
Jonathan
in the
Brooks?
second round?
Jonathan Brooks.
I still have hope for Jonathan Brooks, right? Take the time off, get healed up, you know what I'm saying, come back. Thomas Davis did it. You could possibly do it as well. But like we said before that the last 2 drafts, this year and last year, probably the 2 of the best back-to-back drafts that the Panthers have had in a while. They've had some really bad drafts with some bad GM work, right? So in some ways, I'm glad there's not as many people left from those drafts because they needed to get better. They needed to have new life and new guys into this. So I think if we look towards 2029 and if we're like, man, there's nobody on this roster from the 2026 draft, okay, there's some problems, right?
Yeah.
There's some problems.
For real.
But I like the fact that there's nobody left from some of those drafts because they needed to get better. There were some horrible drafts that we had.
Oh, yeah. Terrible ones. But you know what, Chris?
Terrible.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Pancakes for everybody.
Big meaty men slapping meat. Week 1. It's coming up. Jacksonville, Florida, going against the Jaguars, as Dennis Cox would say, with a W. Jaguars. Let's do it. Big meaty men slapping meat. Yes.
Hey, as long as the Panthers walk out with the W against Jacksonville, that's fine by me. But again, leave your thoughts in the comments about who you think should make this team, guys that you think that might not make it. Let us know in the comments, and we'll have another episode for you guys late night after Panthers preseason game number 3 against Pittsburgh. Chris,
stay up with us.
You be good, sir. Did you say stay meaty?
I said stay up with us.
Oh, stay up with us. Yeah, in that case, pause. See y'all.